So there is a plan. There's a plan to try and do something about that. There's a global plan to stop TB, and this is back in Davos again. So Davos no longer has sanatoria for TB patients, but it does accommodate world leaders. It has a World Economic Forum, and in 2006, they launched a global plan to stop TB at the World Economic Forum in Davos. And what that calls for is a total spending of $56 billion, is what they've called the global economy should be spending $56 billion on trying to control TB. And if that happens, then the idea is that that will allow treatment of 50 million people and save 14 million lives over the next decade. What it's based on, so the main part of the global plan is to apply that DOTS treatment, this treatment, as I said, the multi-drug treatment, which we know is effective against drug-sensitive disease, to apply that as efficiently as possible. So we would like to sustain DOTS treatment, to adapt DOTS, so to make DOTS more flexible for treating people with HIV TB, and to add in extra drugs to treat MDR TB. There's then a number of parts of the global plan which relate to social issues of strengthening health services, involving communities. A lot of TB control, we think, is dependent on social mobilization, social organization, getting people interested, getting people to understand TB. The last point there down at the bottom is R&D for new tools, and that's really what I'm going to talk about in the rest of the talk, is the science, the biomedical science, to try and develop new tools for TB interventions. But I don't want you to go away with the feeling that that's the only thing we're doing in TB. Clearly, these social innovations, socioeconomic innovations are going to be the main driver, I think, for control of TB. Now, the overall goal of the global plan is to try and achieve a 50% reduction in global prevalence and mortality by the year 2015. So the year 2015 is selected because this is in line with the Millennium Development Goals, which are all set to kick in 2015. And the aim then, in quantitative terms, that would mean we'd have a global prevalence of TB of 155 per 100,000 of the global population, and we would expect about 14 per 100,000 people to die from TB, so about 1 million people dying from TB in 2015 if the plan's successful. And as the last slide, then, I just wanted to say, well, what's the future of TB epidemic? And I've given you two graphs here that I've used in the presentation that present two radically different futures for TB. So the one would be to compare it to Scotland, compare it to developing countries in the first half of the 20th century. Why can't we reproduce that in the first half of the 21st century? Why can't we just see TB going down to being eliminated? And TB elimination by 2050 is, in fact, a stated goal within the global plan. On the other side of the graph, on the other side of the figure, I've given you XDR TB. I've given you that rapid mortality, this emergence of these highly drug-resistant strains, giving you the nightmare scenario that you saw in those James Nachtwey photographs at the beginning. So which is it going to be? Which are we going to have the positive future or the negative future? If I was taken to predict, then I would say that I almost certainly will get both. Almost certainly some parts of the world, TB will go down radically over the next half century, and it'll be very good news. Some parts of the world, I think, really will suffer that nightmarish hell of XDR TB. And I think that's up to the scientists then to try and see how we can work in those two situations to get interventions that will accelerate reduction where things are going well, and interventions that can really have high impact in these disaster situations of XDR TB. And stop there.